Hello, Nick here with 3D IT today. We're going to talk about power supplies. So, what exactly is a power supply? Well, a power supply is a piece of hardware that powers the entire PC. This piece of hardware is probably one of the most important because, if you didn't have it, it doesn't matter how good any of the equipment you have in your PC is, you're not going to have power and it's not going to turn on. So, now that you know what power supply does and how essential it is to your computer, how do you choose one? Well, first you need to find out how many watts your computer is going to run on. So this can be done by adding the wattage that each component uses up. And you can do that either through the manufacturer's parts list or using websites to build a PC. You can find the wattage rating of your CPU, graphics card, etc. So when you have that picked up, you need to make sure that the wattages are while your components are running at peak performance. So when you go to buy the power supply, you want the power supply to have a small amount of excess wattage compared to what your computer is going to run on. So for example, if you were going to run on 450 watts, you might want to go with a power supply that's between 500 and 550 watts. This will improve overall performance, and your power supply will be more energy efficient. Now, if you plan to upgrade, you could go with a larger wattage power supply, but just know that it might cause your electric bill to go up a little more because it's not going to be as efficient as one that has a smaller gap. So now that you know how to pick your power supply, protecting not only your PC but your power supply is important. So you can do that with an uninterrupted power supply, or UPS. The UPS maintains a consistent stream of power. It has an onboard battery that will add power when it detects that your computer or whatever connected device isn't getting enough power, and if it detects excess power coming from the grid, then it will decrease and put it in reserve on the battery and withhold that power, increase resistance so that the appropriate amount of power is applied at all times. There's features on board where if you get smarter ones that will turn the battery on and power your device for a short time, and during that time, so if the power goes out, you can shut down your computer without having to worry about damage or to your hard drive or any of your onboard components. So now that you know how to protect your computer, let's talk about modular and non-modular power supplies. Power supplies can be modular. A modular power supply allows you to plug in additional power cables as needed. This reduces the amount of cables inside your computer and makes cable management very easy. Non-modular power supplies come equipped with all the cabling that the power supply can power, essentially. But the problem with that is a lot of times you have excess cables that aren't used and they have no place to go. You can't disconnect them. And this makes cable management very hard to do. This is a typical power supply. As you can see here to the side, it will show you how many watts this power supply can output. The power supply we have here today has a maximum wattage of 300 watts. Now we're going to demonstrate how to plug the cords into the motherboard. First, you can plug the 24-pin connector marked P1 into the motherboard. So it only fits one way. So make sure that the clip goes over the ridge on the side of the connector. If you try to do it backwards, odds are it's not going to fit. Just spin it around and then you can connect it. Then you can plug the P2 cable, which is marked as P2, which is a 4-pin connector in. This powers the CPU generally. This power supply also comes with the P7 connector, which is for an optical drive, and also it has SATA connectors for hard drive and other bay expansions. And that is how you hook a power supply up to the motherboard.